All right, we'll let everybody join right now, and then we'll start in just a couple of moments. So hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are going to begin in just a few moments. We'll just let everybody join. And in the meantime, we've launched a quick poll. So if you'd like to share a little bit about where you're from and where you are right now in this application process, that would be great. And welcome, Teresa.
Hi, guys.
Hi. Such a beautiful backdrop you had there.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm perched on top of our building.
Very nice.
What? You're still open?
We'll just see outside.
Look from afar,
Right,
just don't touch. That's really what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
we
great.
can. Okay, so far we have quite a few people from Canada, a couple of people from Africa, and a couple of people from Asia.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll give everybody 2-3 more minutes to join, and then we'll introduce each other, and then we'll go straight to the questions. So again, if you're just joining us, welcome. We're so glad you're here. If you could please respond to that poll question. We're going to close it in just 2 minutes, and then we're going to start. All right, we'll be starting in just 1 minute. So this is your last chance to respond to that poll question, and we're going to start. So if you're just joining us, here's how this is going to work. We do have some questions that we prepared based on some of your responses, some of your feedback. But if you have any questions to our panelists, I'm going to introduce them, and I'll let them introduce themselves in just a moment. All throughout this seminar, what you can do is put your question in the Q&A box. And if your question is directed to someone specific, then please put the name of that person or the name of the school directly in the Q&A box, and then we'll make sure that all of your questions are addressed. If you have any very, very personal questions that you think are going to be interested, or is something you don't necessarily want everybody else to know, then you could put this question directly in the chat box, directly to that person, or you can connect with our representatives from the schools at the end of the seminar. All right, so we have over 50 people here with us today. There's going to be more people who are going to join us as well. My name is Sergei. I work for Admitmaster, and I'm so happy to have representatives from 4 great Canadian schools here with us today. We have Lindsay from Ivey Business School. We have Beth from John Molson School of Business, Imran from the Rotman School of Management, and Teresa from the Smith School of Business. So without further ado, what I'd like to do is maybe give each of them, and we'll go in the alphabetical order just so that there's some process to this madness. And I'm going to ask Lindsay to introduce herself first. And let me bring up your slide, Lindsay. And if you can talk just maybe for a couple of minutes about the Ivey Business School, and if you'd like to share something about yourself as well, that would be great. So please welcome Lindsay.
Thanks, Sergei, and thanks everyone for tuning in. My name is Lindsay Lippman. I am one of the associate directors of our MBA program here at Ivey. I'm one of the associate directors. I am focused on our full-time 1-year program. So we do offer an executive MBA program designed for those who have over 10 years work experience. We also have an accelerated MBA program, which is also our part-time program. And we also have an MSc program, which is a direct entry master's. But For today's webinar, I will be focusing my answers around our full-time one-year program. We are located at London, Ontario, a city just about 2 hours south of Toronto. Smaller size city, but a great place to pursue your graduate education, very much a community-driven city. Overall, we have about 155 students in our program, so we are a smaller size, more intimate approach. We are one of 4 in the world who are mirrored after the case methodology learning environment, so very much an interactive environment. I have been at Ivey for about 10 years. That's really crazy to believe, but I've been in a few different roles in my time, working from career management, alumni relations, financial aid, and now part of the recruiting and admissions team, which I love. I finally found my calling. So happy to connect with you after the webinar to answer more of your specific questions. And again, thanks for coming up today.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. And now if I could please ask Beth to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Beth. Oh, great, there's the slide. Hi everyone, I'm Beth. I'm the Graduate Student Recruitment Officer for the John Molson School of Business. So we're located in downtown Montreal. So again, it's a great place to be, and we one of Canada's business hubs aside from Toronto. We are accredited by the Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business. So we are the AACSB accreditation. We have also been ranked #1 in Canada for ROI for the past 2 years. We have a 97% employment rate upon graduation for our general MBA program. So again, it's a great place to be. We only offer a 2-year MBA program, so it's a 20-month full-time or 3-year part-time program, which can be done evenings and throughout, while working a full-time job if you are a Canadian or permanent resident. We also have an MBA in investment management, so it's a 3-year MBA with the full Canada body of knowledge for the CFA integrated into it. We also offer that program in Toronto. And then we also have an executive MBA, which is really more for those in the 12 to 15 year experience range. And then we also have like an MSc research thesis programs, and we have a Master of Science, Master of Supply Chain Management. Our MBA is also a case format program. The whole case, the case format's in the core of the program, so it's 10 core courses, followed by a variety of options for flexible learning in an applied sense for our electives. So that's the approach of our MBA. As you see there's some of the highlights we have, including the world's largest international case competition and hands-on not-for-profit and for-profit consulting options. And yeah, for myself, I've been working, I was gonna say, I've been working at Concordia for about 4 years.
Perfect, thank you so much, I appreciate it. I apologize for a slight cutoff in the slides. That's just my technical difficulties here. Let me see if this is going to work. Imran, would you please be able to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you, Sergei. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're signing in from. Wherever you are, I hope that you and your loved ones are safe. Thank you so much for joining us. So my name is Imran Kanga. I'm the Director of Recruitment and Admissions for the full-time MBA program at Rotman. Rotman also offers a part-time MBA option, as well as 3 executive MBA programs and 3 master's programs in analytics, financial risk management, and yes, analytics, financial risk management, and finance. But I represent the full-time MBA program. So a little bit about the Rotman MBA. It is the largest MBA program in Canada. We have 1 intake starting every year in the fall. It's 300 students divided into 4 sections, and we do follow a cohort-based model. So each of the 4 sections takes classes together, completing the core components in the first year, and then the cohorts are blended together in the second year. Program length is 20 months, which is 16 months of study time plus a 4-month mandatory internship for all students. In the second year of the program, students are able to customize their MBA experience by choosing from our 15 different areas of interest, and students have over 100 elective courses to choose from. But I think what really makes Rotman a unique program is really the research focus of the university. university. I mean, the University of Toronto, of which Rotman is a part, is a research-intensive university, and that really attracts some of the world's leading academics and thought leaders in various different industries. And you have these professors not only doing some cutting-edge research, but also teaching in the program. We also offer a lot of beyond sort of outside of academics, student experience is a large focus at Rotman. So we encourage students to participate in one of numerous exchange programs that we offer. We also do a lot of international experience, short trips like study tours in Latin America, East and Southeast Asia, Middle East and India. We encourage students to also not only participate in, but also take on leadership positions and various student organizations and clubs that are at Rotman. And as I was saying, as our, because of our research focus, we have resources like the Creative Destruction Lab, which is a tech incubator on campus. We have a self-development lab, which is a professional development and personality development initiative, which students have access to, and then our leadership development lab as well. Students also enjoy working and collaborating with professors at various research institutes at Rotman, like BEAR, which is Behavioral Economics at Rotman, Gender and the Economy, and our newly launched Business Design Institute. So there's a lot, it's a great academic experience, but we also really encourage our students to participate in out of the academic sort of extracurricular activities, because I think that's what really makes Rotman a special place.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Imran. Appreciate it. And now, Teresa, if you please introduce yourself and the Smith School of Business.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Sergei, for hosting us. And I'll echo my colleagues' comments. We're happy to be here, and we hope you are all well and safe wherever you are in the world. I'm currently based in Kingston, Ontario. This is where the Smith School of Business is. We are a one-year MBA program, 12 months, which begins in January. We do have just one intake of 80 students. About a 60-40 split, and we do have quite a diverse group year over year, upwards of 19 different nationalities represented in such a small cohort, so it is very diverse. We do also have the highest percentage of females across the country, with 44% this year, which is phenomenal, but for the last 5 cycles. We do require the GMAT score, so please be cognizant that the standardized tests for our program have not been waived at this time. You will be required to have a GMAT or a GRE for enrollment as part of the qualifications. We do have a 95% employment 3 months after graduation, which is the highest in Canada, with an average starting salary package of just under $130,000, and this is at 100% reporting rate. We do also have one of the only all-inclusive fees. So this includes all of your cases, your textbooks, all of your materials and people. The university is right behind me, actually. If you can see, this is Goods Hall, the Smith School of Business. It is located right downtown Kingston, which makes it easy and accessible for our students, especially if you're not from Canada or don't have familiarity with Canada. It is safe, easy to walk around. Most of our students live within a 10 to 15 minute walking distance from Goods Hall. And we're located very centrally, so in between Montreal and Toronto, and our capital, Ottawa, which is about an hour and a half away. You can learn more about Kingston and what it has to offer on our website. And of course, just a simple Google search will tell you a lot more about the city in which the program is based. As well, I would like to add that we do have international exchange options. So within the one-year format, you are able to go and explore outside of Canada. We have 38 partners in 23 countries, so great opportunity to take some courses that potentially we don't offer, or just to get that international experience and exposure. We do offer specializations in unique areas like data management as well as digital transformation, which in today's situation that we're currently all living in during this pandemic, you will notice that a lot of the corporates across Canada and internationally are looking for these skill sets. So we do feel that puts our students at an advantage by being offered these courses as part of our specializations. Again, please visit our website to learn more about the curriculum, both in the fundamentals as well as what we offer in the elective stream. Keep in mind, there is no deadline date. We're on rolling admission. So for international students, we generally advise that you apply before the end of September. Keep in mind, you can apply at any point in time. You don't need to have your standardized test to start an application. We offer free, no obligation preliminary assessments, which you can get done at any point in time. So please go ahead and submit your resume on our website to get some further information on how you can strengthen your profile and how you can best apply to our program. Turn it back over to you, Sergei.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Teresa. And thank you again, everybody, for introducing yourself. And thanks everybody who's just joined us for being here on this call. We have 63 people joining us here today from different parts of the world. So what I would like to do is I will stop sharing of the screen right now just to make it a little bit more interactive. And I would like now to go to questions. I'm sure that there are a lot of questions that are on everybody's mind, but the question that a lot of people were asking us is, how is the application process different this year? What has changed? And maybe we can begin by, first of all, saying, do you see a decrease or an increase in applications this year? And what have you seen so far in terms of working on the inside in the admissions office, from how things have changed for you? If somebody would like to chime in or start.
Oh, sure. I guess I'll start. For us, we've seen, we're not waiving anything right now due to the pandemic. There is the online GMAT, which I'm sure, is what most universities are looking at right now. We accept the online GMAT. Of course, there's all these regulations now about taking the online GMAT only once, using the on-screen whiteboard. We understand that it is challenging, but we are holding firm on our requirements for GMAT as well as our language requirements. But we've seen again, the interest is still there for business school, given the way that the world is going right now.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I would like to say we are still required a GMAT or a GRE unless you have a CFA 3 achieved. Our program beginning in March. There's a lot of time before you have to submit your application with us. And I know Teresa noted in her introduction that you don't need to have your standardized score at the time of the application, and that is the same with us. It has been that way in the past, but even now, say, we're being more flexible on that. You might get a conditional offer based on needing a certain GMAT score if you couldn't write the online, if you don't have the capability, or if you'd rather wait. So certainly that is something that has changed, but we have not seen a decline in terms of interest from whether domestic or international candidates. We started accepting applications with our first round back in January of this year, and we've been higher than last year at this time. So we haven't seen a difference in terms of level of interest for the MBA program.
Yeah, to agree with Lindsay, it is still very competitive. And as I agree that we are also seeing an uptick in applications. Our deadline is June 1st. We start in September and in winter, so we have 2 intakes, but we are definitely still seeing an uptick. I agree with Lindsay in applications right now. And we do also hold the GMAT firm.
I think what is true is that ultimately when people are in a downturn, whether they're feeling unstable, insecure, or they've lost their jobs, they're thinking about what's next. So in a weird turn of events, it's good for MBA programs or for higher education in general. We see this in recession years as well, where we'll see an uptick in applications. With regards to changes, I believe every school is going to be lenient to your situation. We understand that deposits, for example, are delayed due to banks being closed at this time. So things such as that, if you're an applicant who's received an offer, or you understand that you might not be able to get that funding as easily, then schools are lenient towards giving you an extension to secure that. As well with WES translations, if you do need to get your transcripts and your official documentation translated, we are lenient on that time frame as well. So keep in mind that, you know, every school is going to have their individual requirements, and we're all going to have different expectations of each candidate, but we are all understanding of what the world is going through right now. This is unprecedented times for us as well. And so just ask each individual school, whatever your circumstance is, and I can almost guarantee that we'll all be lenient to some degree on what that looks like for you.
Thank you. Thanks very much for sharing this. And maybe just to add to another question to what you just talked about, how are the deadlines affected right now? I know a lot of our clients are really worrying about meeting these deadlines, and many of them don't have GMAT scores yet. So what would you say about meeting the application deadlines, and is it possible to send the GMAT score at a later time?
Maybe I can start, Sergei. I think, you know, I mean, all of us, when we're talking to candidates, we always tell candidates to apply as early as possible. So, I mean, speaking of Rotman and, you know, maybe Concordia, because we have a fall start, you know, our admission cycle for this fall actually started in October last year. You know, and at this point, we're kind of at the tail end of our application cycle. So, you know, while we were always accepting applications because we follow a rolling admission process, you know, especially for international students, if they are thinking of applying, you know, I would strongly recommend maybe applying for, you know, maybe a winter intake if one is available, or then maybe fall next year, because it is kind of late, not only for not only for us in terms of our admissions, but also, you know, for international students, they have several different hurdles that they need to cross before they get here, like getting their funding organized, getting their study permits, you know, and so there's, with every day that's passing, I mean, I know the situation is changing, but it's getting harder and harder for students to get here. So realizing those challenges, especially in this situation, it may be better to start planning for next year. And you know, we are being flexible, of course, with students applying, you know, and we'll be as accommodating as possible if there are spaces available for this fall. But keep in mind that, you know, because we are at the end at this point of time, it's highly unlikely.
Yeah, just to chime in there on what Imran was saying, for Concordia, we are trying to flex as much as we can past the June 1st deadline. After June 1st for Concordia, for locals, for Canadians, it's really case-by-case basis on how much time you need. But given the COVID-19 throwing everything upside down, as I'm sure it is for all of my colleagues, for John Molson, we are trying to, you know, we're trying to do, again, it varies from university, but some universities talk to the recruiter. It could certainly, there might be some wiggle room there for up until, you know, start a program, but it depends on program to program.
Mm. And if you were to say, and this may be a very direct question, but if somebody applies by the deadline, how much time would you give this person to submit the GMAT score?
I think it will vary. Like I know for us, it's going to be, we're going to give you a reasonable amount of time. It does depend on when you do apply and sort of when the program subsequently starts. So we haven't had that situation yet. So far, all of our applicants have had their GMAT scores, but we anticipate that more on a rolling basis, we're going to receive more of those. And it's a committee decision. It's more of a base by base, but it would not be submit your score within 2 weeks. Like that's unreasonable. It would be definitely more time. And again, as Imran mentioned, the daily things are changing. So we'll just adapt accordingly. And I think overall, that's the admissions change this year from any other year. I think most schools in general are pretty accommodating, but this year more than ever, there's a lot of unknowns and uncertainties that we have to be pretty flexible to give the candidate the best experience as possible within this situation.
I also do think that it's not necessarily going to be the GMAT that's going to be the issue this year. Frankly, for international students, it's going to be funding and it's going to be study permits. So, I would focus on that and preparing as early as you can to ensure that you get your acceptance in enough time so that you can secure your financing, so you can make the plans to relocate. The reality is that we don't know when our borders are going to be opening, and we just don't know what your banking situation or financing situation is going to look like in a couple of months. I think every school is going to be lenient on when the GMAT needs to be submitted. So again, I think that's very much on a case by case.
Okay, perfect. Great. Thanks for answering this question. We have a few questions rolling in, and many of them are related to the overall student experience. Would you be able to comment, as I'm sure you've been in touch with the rest of the school, how is the student experience different over the last month and a half? And maybe you could relate this to both their experience taking classes and their ability to get support from the school to find jobs if somebody is graduating right now, or to find internships. What do the schools do right now to adapt to this environment and provide this support to students and graduating students as well?
So I guess I can talk about internships, since we do have a mandatory internship. So comparing year over year, last year, at this time, we had about 75% of our students had secured a summer internship. Our internship is flexible, so you can do it either in the summer or the fall or the winter in your second year. However, most students, last year was 75%. It's usually around that percentage that does an internship in the summer. This year, it's about 65%. So 65% of students have secured a summer internship, and their summer internships are still taking place. Another 25% so far have secured an internship for the fall term. So, it seems like companies are still operating. They're still very much open to hiring MBA students for different projects and internship opportunities. So the internship piece, it's been, so far, it's largely positive. And employers are being a lot more flexible as well. I know a lot of, smaller firms and startups, even some medium-sized companies in different industries that, maybe had some projects lined up for the summer, but their projects are now delayed to the fall or winter, are moving the students' internships as well. So they're being a lot more flexible. They're not rescinding offers. They're just maybe moving them forward a bit.
Yeah, from a student experience, I would say, obviously, it's changed. Our program is traditionally in person, not virtual. So certainly that's changed the dynamic. But we are fully, obviously, virtual. The support-wise, in terms of still offering career coaching conversations, personal coaching conversations, support is still there, just obviously in a virtual means. Student elections, club sign-up, all that is still ongoing. Recruiting events, networking events, it's also been going as planned. So nothing has changed in terms of, what the curriculum, what that looks like in terms of the content being offered, or the extracurriculars or support offered by the school as a whole. It's just obviously in a very different form. And from what I've heard, students they've adapted as best as they can, given the circumstances, and they're doing well adapting to more of a virtual learning than the in-person as what they had planned for.
Yeah, I agree with Lindsay. We also are adapting by moving to online learning. A lot of our classes are now through Zoom. So there's a lot of Zoom for all of our programs, plus our Career Management Services office is still very involved. As far they're doing online advising, they're doing online meet with a recruiter. All the employers are now meeting online with our students as well. So, and the CMS office, the Career Management Services office at John Molson, is really pushing those through social media, through e-blasts, through emails and everything. So these students are still getting FaceTime with the recruiters, and the recruiters are still having those one-on-ones with students. And info sessions and things like that. So it's business as normal for us. It's just, again, our campus quickly jumped to working online. So it was a very quick transition.
Yeah, lastly, I'll just add, same, we've all moved to virtual platforms. Our program did this quite seamlessly. We've been operating virtual programs for over 20 years with our executive MBA options and our accelerated MBA. So we had all the technology ready to go, and we were able to transition this within a 24-hour period. All of our students are still doing group work utilizing many platforms, such as obviously Zoom. We've given all of our students Zoom Pro accounts, as well as using things like Microsoft Teams and a couple other platforms that the students are encouraging us as staff members to use. We're learning a thing or two from them and how they are putting together their club activities and getting their team deliverables completed. So everything is running, whatever you can say business as usual is in this day and age. But I will say on the corporate side of things, similar to, and I'll echo what my colleagues were saying, what Lindsay was saying specifically around the career management coaching sessions, we're doing everything that we can to ensure our students are going to be successful. And in fact, they're learning skills that can only help them in future. Great conflict management and understanding, how to negotiate. We are providing a communications course in how to virtually meet with corporates so that our students are best prepared, because there is a difference and your personality comes off in a different way. So it's important that students are prepared to have more of these virtual conversations moving forward, because this is changing the landscape of how business is done. And this will frankly change the landscape of an MBA program and what it will look like in the next few years. Traditionally, consulting and banking or finance generally was where the alumni ended or tended to move towards. We're going to see a shift, and our corporate relations team is suggesting that there'll be growth in other areas: infrastructure, data mining and analytics, digital strategy, e-commerce platforms. So it's just going to be a shift in how MBA programs are designed and what we offer and how we offer it. But I do think there's an opportunity here for those that are already working in these areas, have a keen interest or a background in tech spaces. I think this is the time where, you can start seeking different alternatives outside of the traditional consulting and banking. So silver lining in all of this to say that an MBA program, a top tier MBA program, will ensure your success. It's just going to look different.
Thank you, Teresa. Yep, Imran.
Sorry, Sergei. I was just looking forward to the fall, so the next MBA intake. We are, as of now, planning on being back on campus. We're taking direction, as all universities are, from Public Health and Health Canada. So as of now, back to normal is estimated at the end, to be towards the end of June. And so we're expecting to be, A, back at work, and B, back on campus, classes back on campus this fall. So we are, again, this situation is changing, so can't say for sure, but at least the plans as of now are to be in classes in person in the fall.
Okay, perfect, thank you. We also seen some questions coming in, and they are related to this topic, is if the school is not able to open in September, then would some of the people choose to defer their admission? Also, with some of the international candidates perhaps not being able to come, and they will defer their admission to next year. So how do you see this affecting the application cycle this year and next year? And then we'll get into talking about if somebody's still thinking of applying this year, would it still be worth it? So maybe let's start with that question. How do you think this whole dynamic of now people not being able to come, and also perhaps some people are a little bit hesitant about starting online, how is this going to affect this and next year's application cycle?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Teresa.
I was just going to say, for us, we're playing it, day by day. We start in January, so we have a bit more of a runway compared to the September start schools. So I would say that for us, we are operating as we would in any other year. As my colleagues have already said, and I've echoed, the applications are actually up year over year. When we do comparisons, we're seeing more interest. And in fact, we're already, enrolled 30% of our class, which is great at this time. So I would say it's getting more competitive, frankly. The realities of international students are top of mind for all of us. We're all very cognizant that it may be difficult for international students to get here, but that wouldn't necessarily, in my opinion, I wouldn't tell a candidate not to apply because it may be difficult to get here. There's alternatives around it, like deferrals. I think all schools are open to that. This is a unique year. So I would say continue to apply if this was your plan to do so. Don't be afraid that this might not work in your favor, because there's ways around it. If you are looking to come to Canada and seek an MBA program, speak to us. Talk to us, have that conversation with us, speak to current students, understand the experiences that they're going through, and then make a decision based on your due diligence. That's my advice, in my opinion, to all those candidates that are really unsure at this time.
Yeah, right now for us, for winter intake for John Molson, I mean, we're still open for international students. We hope to be back on campus by September, but of course it really depends on the Quebec government and on, you know, higher orders, you know, what happens for the fall and for the winter. But again, we're seeing it really, you know, day by day. And again, right now there's nothing, you know, again, we would hope that in the fall, international students who are joining us in the fall, worst case scenario that it would be online, but of course we're still waiting for all the final plans to be coming out. As we all know, the COVID-19 situation evolves day by day, but we are still, you know, really encouraging applicants to apply, internationals for our winter intake or locals for our fall.
And do you think this is a good time to apply? Do you think that that now is the right time to be thinking about the MBA given everything that's going on around us?
I think that's a personal question. I think it depends on, you know, how COVID is impacting each person quite differently. I mean, this is, again, unprecedented times. I know that's the word that's always being thrown around right now, but it is. None of us in our lifetime expect to be going through this. So I think you can look at this from a few different angles. And one of them could be, if you're always thinking about, you know, further education, and whether you are, maybe you've lost, unfortunately, your job due to COVID, or whether now you've just got time to reflect because you are stuck in your house, and so you're doing a lot more self-reflection, you think, maybe I should do my MBA, then maybe. I mean, I think this is where you could look at it and say, like, this could be the time to seize the opportunity if I am ready for it. You know, if I'm ready to pursue it, if I want to go through with it. Yes, it does require writing some tests, whether they may be online, or again, it's not going to be your traditional admissions process for this year, whether it's again for September take or for any of our programs next year. But I think you can take it from that angle, but it really is an individual situation bearing on how you've been impacted both personally and financially from COVID.
I would try to think, you know, I know it's difficult, but I would try to make that decision not thinking about COVID. So aside from COVID, you know, is it the right time for me to do an MBA? You know, it has to make sense in your career. And as Lindsay said, it is a very personal question because, you know, everyone's situation and everyone's career plan is different. So the right time to do an MBA could be different for everyone, right? For some, it could be after 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you know, depending on where they are in their careers. So, you know, COVID, you know, yes, COVID is the large elephant in the room right now, but try to think of, you know, the long term. I mean, this is obviously a short blimp in a long career that you're going to have. So is it the right time for you, aside from COVID, to pursue an MBA or a master's program at this point in your career?
It's also keep in mind that it's a 1 year to 2 year obligation. So again, it's going to be something that's going to be lasting longer than this pandemic is going to last, and it can't just be a knee-jerk reaction to jump into an MBA.
Exactly, and I just want to add from myself as well. I was mentoring some of the first-year students from the program I went to, and many of them are getting really nervous about their prospects. And my response to that was, what a great time to be in school, because if you are now in the workplace, then you're kind of on your own. And you would be glad if the company, of course, is supporting you, but sometimes the company is just cutting the ties and you are completely on your own. But if you are in school right now, you have all of this support from the school, from alumni, from the career management office. And then by the time you graduate, everything hopefully is going to be back to normal. And in the meantime, you're learning these amazing skills, because our world would probably not be the same. 80% of people are now saying that I would like to work from home. permanently. So things are going to change, and you're developing all of these skills, right? And when you graduate, things are always changing. When I was in school in early 2000s, it was just after the dot-com bust. It was really hard for us as well. And yet things then got back to normal within about 2 to 3 years. And then we had another bust, and then again, things got back to normal. So our life is cyclical and the economy is cyclical, but the MBA is a long-term investment. We have some, again, questions rolling in, and that's something that I wanted to ask you to address as well is, can you speak to the differences, maybe not so much the difference between the part-time and the full-time, there's a question here from Shubham, but what do you see the dynamic right now, again, given this whole situation between the full-time and the part-time? Are they affected equally or differently, given that the part-time program is pretty much all domestic students? Who would like to comment on this?
I haven't really seen a difference in it right now. I mean, only because, again, our part-time program began in January and our full-time began in March. Generally speaking, a part-time candidate is very different than a full-time candidate because the part-time candidate wants to keep working during it, and the full-time candidate is willing or wants to take a step back from their career and immerse themselves in whether it's a 1-year, 2-year program. So, so the mindset of application is different. You know, in terms of being from the admission side, it's different. So it's a different candidate. It's more apples to oranges for us than it is on the same playing field. So at this time, we have not seen a difference in change.
For us, it's quite a different program because our full-time, part-time program is the same batch of students. So for Canadians, you can be full-time or part-time, but again, because some of our classes are offered at night, you can do part-time entirely at night over the course of 3 years, but of course it'd be mixed in with full-time students. So our part-time students, it's the same deadline, same batch, same requirements, same courses, same options, same opportunities, same everything. So the part-time students typically are a bit more on the professional side. They're a bit more like working full-time, usually have kids, you know, doing that. And the full-timers are usually, they're usually a little bit younger. So they're usually around the 25, 26, 27 range. Part-timers are usually anywhere from 28 to 32 and beyond. We don't have an age cap. But again, it really depends. You know, it's the same, as I said, for us, it's the same program. Full-time, part-time is we have an MBA.
Yeah, our part-time program basically starts at the same time, starts in the fall with the full-time, but it stretches over 3 years instead of 20 months, just because students are taking a reduced course load every semester. Full-time students typically take 5 to 6 courses. You know, part-time students take 2 to 3 every term. So it just prolongs it a little bit. But the curriculum is exactly the same. The career support, extracurricular involvement, all of that is the same for both full-time and part-time. Part-time students typically have less time to participate in extracurricular activities because they are working full-time. So that's the only difference. But it is, you know, apart from the age and where they are in their career, it's typically, you know, students that opt to do part-time programs are those that are, you know, comfortable in the career that they're in, and they're using the MBA as sort of a, you know, a refresh on their skills, or maybe doing it to acquire new skills to progress in the same career that they're in. So sticking to the same company or the same industry. And full-time students tend to be those who, yes, are, you know, younger, so they've had less work experience, but they're either looking to make a career transition, you know, get out of the function or the industry that they're in, and they would opt for a full-time program because to make that career transition, an internship is pretty important. So, you know, being able to test the waters in different industries, you know, makes sense if you would like to make a career transition. So I would say that's a big difference between part-time and full-time as well.
Yeah, that's the same for us. Our professional programs are part-time, as we're referring to them here. We have three. We have the Accelerated MBA for business undergrads, and we have 2 executive options, and those are delivered while you're working. So it's virtual learning, but you physically have to come to a boardroom when boardrooms open. And so you do have to manage your time. So the time management is, I would say, more important when your family, potentially other obligations outside of work, plus your program. So it does tend to be catered towards candidates that want to stay in the same vertical. They want to stay in the same industry. They're potentially looking to advance their career by getting the credential or building a different network, which is critical, especially depending on age and stage in your career. Whereas in the full-time program, it's a residential program. So you're completely changing your career in some respect, either location, you're looking to pivot careers by function or industry. So there's lots of different motivating factors when it comes to quitting your job, relocating to a different city with the full-time program, as opposed to staying in your current city and continuing to study to gain that credential and to broaden your network. And there was a question around age. So generally speaking, within a full-time MBA program, the average age is around 28. With part-time or professional programs, the age varies. You know, it could be, for us, our average age is around 35 for a professional program. So it does tend to be very different in terms of age and stage with a full-time versus a professional program.
Yeah, and our executive MBA is very different than our accelerated MBA, which is our part-time. So like executive MBA, our accelerated is actually similar in age to our MBA full-time. It's just their work experience and post-MBA goals are very different. So again, these are the things where check out each school's program sites and get to know the candidate profile and the program's different.
And then there was just a very, very quick follow-up question. Do part-time students get access to the same resources, same support from the Career Management Center as the full-time students?
Not for our program, but again, our program is very different. So our part-time program, which is called the Accelerated MBA, it is designed for those who do not want a career change. So they do not have access to career management. It's a 1-year, 4-day a month program. Intended for those who are happy in their current employer, just want to progress and want an MBA for their own education, but do not want to leave their employer. So they don't have the access to our executive MBA. It's not the same career management support. The full recruiting and support for networking and career management is just only with our full-time MBA program.
Perfect. Thank you so much. There was a series of questions about funding, so maybe we can address these questions. First of all, given this whole COVID situation, do you see any sort of a change in the policy of funding? Do you see any extra funding available, any extra scholarships available, or perhaps are there still any scholarships available for somebody who's applying late? So could you please talk just overall about funding and scholarships and other types of funding available, especially right now as they're different from the normal application cycle?
Sure. I'll start since my program, the MBAs I'm coming from are public programs. So being that John Molson is a public MBA program, the tuition varies depending on what your status is in Canada. Our scholarships are all given out. Our deadline for scholarships is March 1st of every year. So unfortunately, scholarships are already given out. However, if you're a Quebec resident, tuition for the MBA program, the entire MBA is $6,000. It's $14,000 for out-of-province applicants who are Canadian, and then it's $41,500 for internationals. So again, we don't offer any additional scholarships, but again, our tuition, we hope that, you know, with the government support for Canadians and permanent residents, it certainly is hopefully still affordable.
For Rotman, you know, we do have a round 4 application deadline coming up May 14th, which is primarily for domestic applicants. And we absolutely have scholarship funds available to support, you know, any students that are admitted in round 4. For international students, again, while we, you know, we discourage international applicants at this time just because of the, you know, the time that it's going to take for you to be able to get here. If you do apply, and we do have spots available, we can definitely accommodate you. You know, if you have a strong application, we would either admit you for this year if it's possible, or then, you know, consider your same application for the next year. But our scholarships are entrance awards that are given on merits of your application. So If you have a strong application, you will receive scholarship, whether it's for this year or next year, or whether you're international or not. For Canadian students, I know that there was a recent announcement by the Canadian government for some tuition or some kind of funding for, I don't know if it's a tuition reduction or scholarship, but there will be additional funding from the government that you can apply for. I just don't have all the details off the top of my head right now, but I did see that news recently. And for international students, in addition to the entrance awards that Rotman or any other business school would provide you, there are external sources of funding like Empower and Prodigy that are still supporting students.
Imran, if you don't mind, just a quick follow-up question, especially since the Rotman program starts in September. Would the May 14 be an absolutely final deadline? And then what would be the deadline for submitting GMAT scores in that case?
So, okay, maybe I should say May 14th is a guideline, because we do offer, our admissions is on a rolling process. It's on a rolling basis, excuse me. So, you can apply by May 14th if you have your GMAT and your application ready. You can also submit your application without the GMAT and then submit it later once you're able to take the test. We obviously need a completed application in order to make an admission decision. So while you can complete, a few components of the application minus the GMAT, we'll only be able to fully assess your application once we receive the GMAT. So it's really, up to the student. The quicker you can submit your application, the better. Obviously, don't rush it, but apply as early as you can. For domestic students, it is rolling, so you can, absolutely apply, when you're ready, whether it's before May 14th or after.
Thank you. There were a couple of questions about the difference between the online GMAT and the in-person GMAT. Would you be accepting them at par? Would you be giving a discount or a premium to the online GMAT? And then after that, maybe we can get a little bit more into what are you looking for in candidates. So maybe let's just start with this quick question. Are you going to look at them at par, the online versus the in-person GMAT?
Yeah, we are. We're looking at it equally. Essentially, it's comprised of the verbal and the quant score, so we look at the aggregate.
Yeah, I agree. Yep, same thing. We understand that the whiteboard is tough, the online whiteboard, but we just recommend practicing lots with the online whiteboard before you take the test.
Thank you so much. And that leads us into, there were a series of questions about the entire application process. Maybe since we talked about the GMAT, maybe we can address that. There were some questions about the range of the GMAT, so the minimum GMAT, and also whether a high GMAT score can offset a low GPA. And then there were also a few questions about what are you looking for from some of these optional documents. What would you suggest that people also do, the candidates do, to try to improve their profile or present their profile in a better way? So maybe start with the GMAT and talk about the rest of the application. What would you recommend?
So I guess on the note of the GPA of the GMAT, I mean, from an academic side, we want to make sure that you are academically ready for the program. So if you have a low GPA, which I think leave that in the past, you can't go back and control. Maybe you're in the wrong program, maybe you were distracted, maybe you're extra social, whatever it may be, you can't go back and change that, right? So we've admitted many people in our program who had a low GPA because their GMAT or GRE, but mostly GMATs, offset it. So it's like if you have a low GPA and you have a very low GMAT, by low meaning, let's say less than 550, as an admissions committee, that's, we look at you to say, can they academically handle the program? And we wouldn't want to give you an offer we thought, we're not quite sure you're going to be set up for success in our program. So a GMAT score does not determine whether or not you're going to get a higher necessarily scholarship. Like many of my colleagues here, it's a holistic process. We look at everything together. If you are lower on the academic side, that's where you have to offset that with stronger work experience, demonstrating your leadership, your impact, your extracurriculars, your volunteer activities, have a strong interview, have professional references that really speak highly of you and your abilities. The minimum GMAT score will also again vary per school. Traditionally ours is around a 550 upwards, but if you have a 540 and you have an amazing work experience, are we going to say no to you? Probably not. So it's very much a conversation about, are you a well-rounded candidate for the program, looking at all of these different factors.
Yeah, and all that to say that there's no magic formula, so it's not like, if you have a low GPA but a high GMAT score, even that may not be enough to compensate, right? So it is just, keep in mind that it is a holistic process. So, you may have low academics in general, like you may not be a great test taker. And, it's not for everyone, right? It's a test that's in a format that many applicants have never seen in their life. So, we do understand that. And so there's other ways, as Lindsay said, to make up for that, to put forward a well-balanced application. So, we're as admissions professionals, we're looking for reasons to admit you into the program. We're not looking for reasons to reject you. So focus on your strengths, focus on why, just explaining to us through various different components in the application, why you're a good fit for our program and the value you're going to bring to the class. And that's all we really want to see. And whether that's in the form of a high GMAT or great work experience or extracurriculars, whatever that may be, every student is unique and everyone brings something unique to the table. So it's just about bringing that to light through the application.
Yeah, for us, it's a bit more of a holistic approach. So we do need to see the academics. Again, we're not strict on that 3.0, but we take it really in a holistic approach. So again, if you are, if you have an awesome work experience, also a good interview. So again, the video interviews are a big part for us, and we do need to make sure that you're, that you're able to sell yourself. You have the interpersonal skills, that you're really, outgoing and a good fit for the program. Someone could have a 4.0 GPA and an 800 GMAT, but not be able to do any kind of public speaking or sell themselves or have any kind of, not have a great interview. That can happen. We really look for the whole package. So again, if you don't have the 3.0, there are other things that we look at, like my colleagues have said, like the work experience, like the GMAT, it's really a whole package. But again, it depends on what your GPA is specifically. Again, sometimes we may need to see a little bit of extra academic improvement, but it's all really case by case.
Yeah, and I would just echo everything my colleagues have said in regards to how we assess you, but keep in mind that I think people are so concerned about having a strong GMAT for scholarship or for entrance overall, and most schools are merit-based in terms of how they assess scholarship. So if there's other things in your profile that we see as a value add overall, then that is going to help increase your chances of securing a scholarship. So for us, it's all merit-based. So we're seeing what you've been able to accomplish. What have you been able to do? But most importantly, what have you learned through those experiences? This doesn't always necessarily mean success at the end of that, brick road or whatever that phrase is. The reality is that we're all looking for candidates to add value to a classroom. That may mean that you've gone through some struggles. Maybe you've started a business and it wasn't successful, but you've built some resiliency. That's a story we want to hear. We want to hear the compelling reason as to why you want this and how you feel this is our programs are going to help you be successful. The other stuff just is qualifications that we need to assess to ensure that you're going to be able to handle the rigor, right? We want to make sure you're going to be successful. We're not here to set you up for failure. So we want to make sure that academically that you're sound, but this does not mean that you need to have a 700 plus GMAT to be successful in our programs. It means that you need to showcase you have the aptitude to be successful, that you've had the experiences to be successful. And this is ultimately what we want to see in our top MBA programs. So don't be overly concerned if there's one area in your application that you feel insecure about. Talk to us. We can give you tips and guidance as to how you can strengthen your profile or the experiences you can bring forward to help showcase the strength that you bring to the table.
Thank you. Thanks very much for answering this question. We hear this a lot from our clients who are wondering, what is that secret formula? What do I need to do? What kinds of requirements? What kinds of numbers do I need to meet in order for me to get a scholarship, right? Just tell me what this is. So I'm really worried about my GPA. There was a question: is the GPA is 3.3 out of 4, for example, would it be considered low for admissions? There was a question from someone here on the call. So everybody's looking for this formula, for this scorecard. And this scorecard usually doesn't really exist, right? You are evaluated comparing to other candidates who are applying at the same time, and the schools are looking for diversity and for really the best class, for the best composition of the class. So, but yet nevertheless, when you're looking at an application, sometimes you look at the application, you see, oh, this is a good application. Or sometimes you're looking at the application and you're saying, I don't really think this person fits very well. So can you talk maybe a little bit, or maybe give a couple of examples, or just talk in general about what would make you really want a candidate, or really want to invite a candidate to an interview, and what would be some of these red flags that when you're looking at the application, you're like, I'm not sure about that.
I'm sure we all have great examples. Great examples of candidates. Ultimately, for me, I would say everything we've talked about is important. So we don't want to discredit the fact that we want to see strong scores. So I think everyone can agree to that. But for us, just one quick example: coming unprepared for the interview. If you bomb the interview, you're not prepared, you don't ask good questions, you're not professional, you haven't done your due diligence to research the school or reach out to anyone that's, as part of the school. That doesn't always mean alumni, it could mean current students, it could mean staff members. That's a bit of a red flag for us, because it showcases you're not taking this process seriously and you haven't done the research. And this is a huge endeavor. This is a big step towards improving yourself. So if you can't beat the interview, then for us, that's a red flag.
For us, I have seen profiles before that have been problematic in that they seem very much about me, and about that turn into statements of purpose that say how I outperformed everyone. It's not about outperforming everyone. It's really about being a good leader and a good collaborator. So we've seen and we've heard about situations where people have become red flags, where it's all about their statement of purpose is all about how much they kind of outperformed everyone else, and it's all about how you kind of push down everyone else, instead of being a team leader and really being a really team player, manager, and effective leader. So we've seen that as well, and that's what I recommend to be wary of. That again, being a manager, being a business leader is not about being the top performer. It's really about supporting the team that you're managing and becoming who you're leading.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And that brings us to a question which is perhaps going to be a final question given our time. If you are willing to stay, we could take a few more questions. But that question all about understanding what the school is looking for, understanding the school's culture. Some of the schools are a little more competitive and are really looking for that achievement edge, and some of the schools are a little more team-based and are really looking for that collaborative leadership and team-based leadership. So how would somebody understand the school's culture, especially given that it's impossible right now to actually visit a class and sit in a class and walk the campus? How would you recommend somebody really start connecting with the school and understanding whether the school is the right fit? And perhaps all of you can answer this question quickly and also talk a little bit about how would you recommend somebody connect with you. We will certainly share your contact information with everybody here, or any of the events that perhaps are going to be coming up that you would recommend that candidates attend. So who would like to start?
So I just,
go ahead, Imran.
Sorry, Lindsay, I just posted my email address in the chat box, and all you guys should do the same so that we can take questions, specific questions about our schools offline. So I missed the last question. Share your contact information. About that, but
no, we'll certainly share your contact information.
Yeah, okay, well. Perfect. Yeah.
But the last question was, how would somebody connect with you and connect with the school to understand the school's culture? And are there any events or any other support that's available to the candidates that you would recommend candidates take advantage of outside of connecting with you in person? So Imran, thanks so much. You've kind of answered the question. One of the probably best avenues is to connect with you.
Yeah, apart from connecting with me, I would highly recommend connecting with current students or with the alumni. I know all of our current students have reached out to me saying, if they can assist in any way and reach out, talk to prospective students, they'd be happy to. So we have a bunch of eager current students, looking forward to connecting with all of you guys, and I'd be more than happy to put you in touch with them. We are, right now our lectures are online, but we're hoping to get back into the classroom in the summer. So if you are thinking about doing a class visit, right now we are allowing virtual class visits, but it could be in person, in the next month or two. So, we'll keep you posted about that. And, a great way of learning more about the program and more about the culture and the classroom environment, is to visit the classroom, whether it's virtually or in person. So I highly recommend doing that. And I know all of our programs do plan class visits and, meetings with admissions, meeting with faculty, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's the best way to do it, is to do the research, connecting with the community that's part of the school.
Yeah, I would echo all of those things. I think we all offer those opportunities. We also have a virtual tour. You can just click on our website and do the virtual tour, so you can see the campus, and that you can learn a little bit more about what we have to offer, of course, on our website, but connect with each and every one of us. And after the session, we're the best resource to help connect you with current students and alumni, but also to help answer any questions that we've missed today. But thank you so much, Sergei. I just want to quickly say we appreciate this opportunity, and we thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Teresa. Beth, Lindsay, would you like to add anything about connecting with the school and how?
Not to be redundant, because I think it's the same thing, right? Connect with me, connect on our website. We have virtual events, we've got podcasts, webinars, student testimonials, you've got our previous alumni there, but we're really the first to help facilitate some of that stuff. So yes, we'd love to get back to in-person class visits soon, not sure, but for now you have to learn through the online tours and the sessions, but it is. Connecting with us and students and alumni, that will give you the culture. So do your research on rankings and placement through the website, connect with humans for the culture.
Yeah, for sure. And I echo all my colleagues as well. We have student ambassadors who I'm more than happy to connect you with, who are there specifically to, volunteers who have really come forward and really are looking to speak to prospective students. As well, we have a video tour already on YouTube. If anyone wants that, get in touch with me directly and I can give you the link for it. And then we have some e-meet with a grad, and we have some demo lectures coming up as well. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to help. But again, it's mostly the same things that all my colleagues are offering, but we're more than happy to help.
Perfect.
And we hope to get back to normal soon.
Yes.
Oh.
Thank you so much again for joining, and thanks everybody for joining us today. I know there were a few personal questions that we haven't had answered. There was a question from Sanchit about working in technology and whether a program that maybe doesn't necessarily have specialization in technology, would it still be a good idea for somebody who is interested in working in technology to go to your school? So maybe if somebody could answer this question really quickly.
So
general MBA the MBA without necessarily a specialization in technology management, would it still be suitable for somebody who is specifically knows that he wants to work in technology?
I mean, different programs may have, if not an area of specialization in technology or IT, at least, possibly a few elective courses in that area. So that's something that I would, recommend connecting with us individually for. For Rotman specifically, I'll just quickly say that we do have the Creative Destruction Lab, which is a tech incubator that's housed on campus. And so a lot of students interested in tech or in startups do have that resource available to them. And a lot of students do participate in that, but that's Rotman specific. And I'm sure other schools have resources or courses or programs related to tech. So.
Yeah, to echo my colleague Imran, we also have the District 3, which is also a tech incubator at Concordia. So we also have that for tech-oriented entrepreneurs who want to work in the technology sector. So yes, District 3 is a partnership with John Molson. So it is an opportunity if you want to take that while you're studying at John Molson. But again, really, with any MBA program you have, there are skills that are needed for any kind of leadership position. So, a general MBA program could be great, but again, check through all of our programs and make sure you pick the one that's right for you. And that would take you just to look a little bit in depth at each of our programs and see what each program has to offer and where your values are and where what you need is best located of all 4 programs.
Look at the curriculum, look at the placement, look at the partners you recruit. You know, general MBA doesn't mean you can't go into a specific career. Just it's what you make of it. It's also a bit of what you bring into the MBA, your background. I mean, you know, you can't go from an investment banker to a pilot, right? I mean, like there's some things you need, some transferable skills to take you there. So I think just do a little more further research on the curriculum offered.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. And what a good wrap to this discussion about whether MBA is the right choice and how would somebody go about choosing the MBA. So again, thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it on behalf of everybody here on this call. I would like to, again, invite you to connect with our dear guests. We will be sharing their contact information, so please connect with them directly. There are lots of resources available. They are here to help you. We are going to be doing more of different seminars to help you as well. I've just put a little slide here. As you probably know, we continue doing GMAT, different GMAT seminars. Our next GMAT seminar is on May 12th. We're also doing now a series of seminars to really help you tune in your brain and your psychology for the right success on the GMAT. So we've already done a few. We invite guest speakers, and our next seminar is going to be on May 7th. And it's really all going to be about the emotional intelligence and how you could get rid of some of these emotional blocks and how you could really have the right emotional understanding of yourself and other people around you. And that's certainly something that's going to help you do well in school and in your on your GMAT as well. If you have any questions, please reach back to us. We are going to be able to direct your questions again to our guests or reach out to them directly. I know there are a few more questions coming up. So if you have any questions that are specifically related to any of our guests, then please reach out to them directly. I know there are a couple of more questions. So, okay. So we could stay here in a chat and answer your questions, but otherwise, we're going to end this seminar right now. And again, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and we'll keep in touch.
And stay safe, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks, Sergei.
Bye.
Thank you.